Hey all, welcome to the Power BI dashboarding project. Today, I will be using the COVID-19 dataset to create a dashboard which captures the impact of COVID-19. This is the same dataset I have used previously for analysis using SQL. My name is Shivam, and now let's get started. Now, let's have a look at the two tables. First, we have the casualties table, and we have these different columns. We have new cases and new deaths, and these are what we are concerned with. Now, new cases means that on 24th of February 2022, there were 5 cases in Afghanistan, and there were one death on 23rd of March in Afghanistan. And we have a similar table, vaccinated table. Again, we have people vaccinated, and people vaccinated are going to be a little down the line because vaccination started then later on. So on 28th of February 2021, 8,200 people were vaccinated in Afghanistan. So this is the data we are going to work with. The issue with this data is that we do not have we cannot form one-to-one relationship between the two tables, between vaccinated and the casualties table. But you may say that ISO code, continent, location, these are the 3 columns which are common in casualties and vaccinated table. So we have ISO code, continent, and location in both the tables. So why is it that I cannot use it? Well, the reason is that AFG Asia Afghanistan, this is one value which is being repeated many times over and over and over again. So this is a unique column between the two tables, but they are occurring many times in both the tables. What we cannot do with these set of columns is we cannot form a one-to-one relationship between the two, which is important when we are making relationships in Power BI. So I hope I'm clear. But you ask, why do I not use date as a common column? Because there are duplicate dates in this. Now, in this kind of case, we have to create a table which acts as a common table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ISO code, continent, and location. And with these 3, I'm going to pick the unique values from this and make a common column out of it. And from there, we will get a common table which will link both the tables. And that will look like this: ISO code, continent, location. And now we look at it, AFG Asia Afghanistan is one unique value. And so on and so forth. We will get all the unique ISO code, continent, and location. And this will act as a common table between the two tables. Let's call this table a common table. Store it in the COVID as a CSV file. So these are all the tables. Now let's load these tables on the Power BI desktop. Okay, so let's load the data. We have the 3 CSV files. We just need to click on Get Data. We have a CSV file. So first of all, I'm gonna upload the casualties. We have to upload them one by one. So first I'll upload the casualties. Similarly, I'll load the next 2 tables. Okay, now that's done. Now we will go to the Power Query editor to make sure that the tables that we have added have correct data types. So let's go to the Power Query editor by clicking on Transform Data. We can see the 3 tables here and all the columns for casualties. So we have ISO code in text format, continent in text format, and location and date is fine. Why do we have nulls here? So what I can do is remove the nulls and remove those values and replace them with zeros, because null means there were no cases on that day. So replace values. Ask it to find null values and replace it with 0. Okay. Similarly, with new deaths, I want to have null values, new deaths. Okay, so that makes more sense. And then we have the population. From a database standpoint, this is actually a very redundant table, but hey, we are given this database, we'll work with this. Next, we have the vaccinated table, ISO code, continent, location, date, people vaccinated, same thing, replace the values, value, find the value null. Oh, wait a minute. First thing, I need to convert it into whole numbers, replace current. Next, replace values, find all the nulls, and replace them with 0. Brilliant. So this is fine now. And now we have the common table. There is a very common error in this particular table. Many times when we load a table, it actually takes the headers as the data. So ISO code continent, this particular row should have been the headers. Now, in order to fix this, we just need to click here, use first row as headers, and it gets fixed. It's such a common error that we have a particular button for this to do it. So that's it. Now let's close and apply it. Now we will go to the model tab. In model tab, we can see the different relationships that we have between the tables. Power BI is AI supported, so it makes up the relationships by itself, and it has already formed the relationship, the one we were looking for. So it has taken ISO code, and using ISO code, it has connected casualties and vaccinated. Now, this was what I was talking about. See, this is one, and this is all. This is one, and this is all. Because we have all and all on this side, if we did not have this common table, we will have a many-to-many relationship. Now we will go into the dashboarding part. First of all, I'll just save this file as COVID impact. Now in creating dashboard, the first step would be to put up a good picture in the background for our dashboard. I will browse an image which I have downloaded already and will put it up on the back. It's in the downloads, dashboard background. So it can be an image fit. So first thing is the transparency. Generally in Power BI, just drag it to 0% and you will see the background. And image fit should be fitting to the dashboard. So here you see it. This is the dashboard background. Next, I will put up a big text on the top, which will indicate what this dashboard is about. Next step is to create a slicer. First thing is to go to common table. I'm going to create a slicer using this, not this or this, because if I create a slicer using casualties or vaccinated, it will not be connected to each other because they are not directly connected. Casualties and vaccinated are not directly connected. They are connected through a common table. And this is where common table will come into picture. So go to visualizations pane, and there is a options called slicer, this one. Click on this, and then just tick this continent button. There we have it. But this doesn't look so nice. Let's format it. Now I want to create a map. So map can be created in the building, the visualizations pane, and go to map or filled map, either way. Now, I don't just want to create a map by clicking this. If I click this, I'll get a map and then I can put in values and then I can work with this. But this is not something that I want to do because if I do this, I'll have to do all the uh, formatting again. So to avoid that, I will just copy this and paste it. And while it is selected from slicer, click map or the fill map. I would like a fill map. By the way, one thing that I want to add to this is the um, borders. I don't want top border, left border, right border. I want bottom border of blue color. So I will be working on this map, which shows the rate of infection per country. So infection rate, let's to pull in values. I don't need continent here. What I want is I want the casualties. I want the location to be here. Then I want the sum of new cases. So for that, I will create a new measure. I don't want new cases. I want the sum of the new cases, the total cases that have happened. So let's call it a new measure. And we'll call it this measure a total cases measure. Cases. And if I take it, now we can see that, sorry, Russia, we have these many cases. In Egypt, these many cases. Canada, these many cases. In Greenland, these many cases. You might be wondering, I just did some of the casualties of new cases. Why did it not do like, summing up the cases for all the column and then the values for all the countries are same? Like, why did not that happen? Like, how did Power BI understand that this is for different countries? Like, for, USA, you need to sum it once, then you need to sum it differently for India. Like, how did Power BI understand it? The reason Power BI understands it is because of the filter context. Whenever we put in any values such as these in any kind of map or any kind of table, anything, the Power BI does its internal calculation and puts in some implicit filter context. So there are some explicit filter context which I can put. So explicit filter context is something like if I click on South America, now this is a filter and it will be applied on everything that is on the Power BI dashboard. So it is only showing me South American values. Why? Because I've given it a context, a filter. Now, if I don't give it a filters, if I remove the South American filter, it will show me for the world. But the filter here that it applies is for every country. Now, we actually do not want sum of total cases. I just wanted to show you that we are on the right track. Now, we want to do sum of total cases divided by the population of that country. Again, the implicit context will be applied, so I don't need to worry about if I do that total cases percentage. When I do this, you see China, Russia has 12.3% cases. China has a very little amount of percentage of cases. India has 3.1%. America has 25% cases. Now, something that I will do here is I will give it a gradient and make the color red because that is more applicable here. So let's go to visualize, just visualization pane, fill colors part. And I can choose a particular single color, or I can also do the function, the conditional formatting. And this is how I can do gradient. I want to do it on the basis of total cases, add a middle color, and I'll just make it white. From white, yellow, red. That would be clearer. Now we have a very clear picture that, okay, there are countries which have 40% or more of cases, such as, France, Italy, and things. And there are dark yellow cases like United States. India is, kind of light yellow. And then we have China, which the percentage of cases are very low there. And in Africa, many places have very low number of cases. So this is the map, which gives us a clear picture of how our different countries' infection rates. Okay. So now what I'm planning here is to put up two bar graphs, one here and one here, which shows the death rate, the top 5 countries with highest amount of deaths, not death rate, but actually the total amount of deaths, and the vaccination amount, how many vaccinations have happened in countries. So I'm just going to show the top 5 countries with the highest vaccination amounts and the highest death amounts. And here on the top, I'll give a card. Let's first create a bar chart which shows us the total amount of deaths for the top 5 countries, which are the countries which are most affected in terms of death. And from slicer to a stacked bar chart. Oh, I don't need this continent anymore. Now let's create how many deaths have happened. The first thing I need is location. Now I want the sum of deaths, like how many deaths have happened. For that, I need to create a measure called total deaths. So there we have it, the countries and how many deaths that have happened in the United States. It's the max, then Brazil, then India, and so on and so forth. Now I don't want all the countries. I want only the top 5 countries. For that, I will use this filters tab. I'll filter the locations. I'll do a top n filtering, top 5 filtering, and on the basis of total deaths. Apply the filter. There you go. The top 5 countries with the highest number of death counts. Brilliant. Next, I'm just going to copy this, paste this, and bring it right next to it. And I'm going to call it infection count. Vaccination count by countries. So title. Okay. Now let's make a few changes to it. I feel like this location is not required in either of the cases. It's very understandable that it's a location. So I'll just remove this. This is not required. Neither is this one required. The total vaccinations or total deaths. The title is very clear, like what we are looking at. So I'm just gonna remove the two things. Now I'm just gonna create a card which shows the country which has the least death rate. I'm just gonna copy this again, paste it, and I hope by now like why am I copy pasting it and instead of just creating it all. Yeah. Now I want to create a card which shows the country with the least death rate. All right. So we're going to click on casualties, and we do not have death rate here. So we'll have to create a measure for that. New measure, death rate. Death rate equals, you can simply divide total deaths by population, total deaths, which is a measure I created previously, by population. Actually, a better way to divide is this divide formula. This gives us a better functionality that, if we do not, if we want an alternate result, we can add that max of population. Click enter. I want the location here. And it will just give me the first location first. But this is not what I'm looking for. I'm going to go on filter and data fields are location. I want, again, a top in filtering by bottom one value on the basis of death rate. Apply the filter. We see Falkland Islands. They have the least death rate. Now, if I click on any of these slicers, say if I want to see only the value of Africa, everything here will change. So lowest death rate in Africa is for St. Helena and South Africa. Oh, South Africa is a continent, so it should not be included. Let's exclude this. The Tunisia in Africa, Tunisia is the highest, uh, death count. Egypt, Morocco, Ethiopia, and Algeria, and this way. And this way, our final dashboard is ready, and we can do all sorts of things on it. And it's a very responsive dashboard. Now, as I have pointed out earlier as well, the essence of making a dashboard is in the insights we get out of it. So let's get to the insights that I was able to draw from this dashboard. All right, so here's the presentation. So these are the top 5 countries with the highest death count: United States, Brazil, India, Russia, and Mexico. And these are the top 5 countries with the highest vaccination count. India is at the top, next is United States, then Brazil, Indonesia, and finally China. What we infer from this is that Russia and Mexico happen to be the only 2 countries which are ranked high on death count, though their vaccination count, it still remains low. So if we go back, we can see that United States, Brazil, and India, they are in the death count, top 5 death counts, but they are also in the vaccination count, the top 5 vaccination counts. But that's not the case with Russia and Mexico. They're not present in the count of vaccination. All right, now we're going to do a continent-wise analysis. First off, let's look at Africa. And we're going to do an analysis on the basis of the lowest death rate, the country with highest death count, and the highest vaccination count. And that would be it. So the lowest death count was of St. Helena, and Tunisia had the highest death count. Morocco had the highest vaccination count. Okay. In Asia, Macau had the lowest death rate, and India was the winner on death count and the vaccination count. In North America, there is an island called Puerto Rico, which had the lowest death rate. And US, of course, had the highest death count and the highest vaccination count. In Oceania, Guam had the lowest death rate, Australia with the highest death count, and Australia with the highest vaccination count as well. Finally, in South America, Falkland Islands had the lowest death rate, while Brazil had the highest death count and the highest vaccination count. Now, what I did infer from this is that the lowest death rate is generally in an island country, something that is isolated from the mainland. That's where the lowest death rate is occurring. And that's obvious actually, because COVID spreads from other people. And if some country is isolated from the mainland, then there is a very scant chance of the COVID infection reaching there. The other thing I did see was that in most of the cases, the country which had the highest death count actually also had the highest vaccination count in their given continent. Except Africa, all other continents had these figures. And this is actually a very positive figure. The countries which are getting affected, they are taking actions to do something about it. So this is all I had to share. Thanks for watching. And I hope you got something valuable out of this. I hope I was able to share how Power BI can be used to do analysis. This is all. I hope to see you in some other analysis video. Until then, have a good one. Bye-bye.